Okay, one last bite and then I won't let you suffer and watch me eat the whole thing. Mmm. Today I'm making Puerto Rican stuffed plantain boats. Plantains are so good, but when you stuff them with beans and Beyond Meat sausage and onions and cilantro and olives, the flavor combination is incredible. Honestly, if you can get plantains, you have got to try these. So we're gonna start out by first we have to peel our plantains. The perfect plantain really varies. You see how dark black this one? It looks like it's too old, but if you feel it, it feels just like a ripe banana. It needs to feel soft to the touch, not mushy, but soft. This one is yellow and has black on it, and it's as soft as this one. So you can't always go by the color, but there's gonna be a lot of black on them when they're ready, and they're gonna be soft. You can see by when I cut it, you'll see. And then to peel them, when they're this soft, they're super easy. You just do a slit down and they really come right off. It's super, super easy. And then you peel them. And actually, we don't need any oil for this recipe. The only oil is in the Beyond Meat sausage. So if I want to make this oil free, I always just leave that out. But I'm going to put these in my air fryer and they're going to cook at 400 degrees in my air fryer. If you don't have an air fryer, get one. But if you don't have one, then you really need to just bake them. And I would say the same, 400, put them on parchment paper on a tray and on a cookie sheet or a baking sheet, and then just bake them. And you know, if you need to spritz them with a little oil, air fryer, I don't need to do that. So I'm making 3 because that's what I had ripe. Okay, so see how easy these peel off, and you wanna try not to break these because we're gonna keep them as a boat and we're gonna slit them and open them up so they're like little canoes. Okay, so now let's just get that going in the air fryer. Okay, and while we're doing that, I'm gonna chop up my onion and mushrooms. Use whatever veggies you have. I love onions because onions and mushrooms just go in about everything I make. But if you didn't have mushrooms, you don't have to. And when you put mushrooms in, you really don't need the Beyond Meat sausage because mushrooms are like meat. I'm using these king oyster mushrooms because they're so beautiful and they're really like meaty, especially the stem. So I really love those. But if you can get portobellas, those are good. Any mushrooms are good. The kind that are a little bit fatter and meatier are good because that's kind of how you get the texture of a meat-like mushroom in there. So now let's cut the mushrooms up. Okay, while the plantains are cooking in the oven, let's get the stuffing started. We're gonna put in our onions and our mushrooms and we're gonna start cooking those. But I just wanna tell you, I used a large onion, but if you have a half of one or none, whatever, you guys just need to put some veggies together. But onions are so good in there, really, really good in there. I was just reading that onions are high in quercetin, and quercetin's an amazing flavonoid that's so good for, I used to give it to all my clients for allergies. It's fantastic. You just need to start taking it before your allergy season. If you haven't ever tried it, try it. So there's the onions, and let's put the mushrooms in there too at the same time. And now we're just gonna stir this around. And you guys know the routine by now, right? No oil, let it break down. I usually just give it a little splash of veggie broth just to get some liquid in there to start with. So if we just put the lid on, it's gonna melt them down and draw the water out of it. And then we're gonna have it take our liquid, which is the broth and all our spices. The Beyond Meat sausage, I use the patties, but you can use any brand and any shape, but I love the patties. And when I use them, I always cook them first in my toaster oven. And then I like to cook them in the toaster oven because I like all the oil comes out of them, and then I can pat them, and then I feel like I get rid of a lot of the oil. And everything here is pretty cooked. I made my beans yesterday in my Instapot. I took a red pepper and I roasted it, so that's cooked. Beans are cooked, and that's it. Everything's cooked. So we just cook this down, and then we just add spices and flavors and the rest of the ingredients. It's easy, but it's so delicious. I can smell those plantains, and right now I'm smelling those mushrooms and onions. You ever notice that mushroom squeak? So does my fat cat, Luke. We want these finally cooked before we add, because this stuff's all cooked already, so we're not gonna wait too much longer once we add. I'm gonna add the peppers and give them a little cook because they could use a little more, but I wanna wait just a little bit longer for the mushrooms and onions to get there. You want all the water to come out of the onions, and then you wanna start slowly adding some broth, and it'll seem like they're burning, but then when you add the broth, you get those nice brown bits off the bottom, and then you get all that sugar from the onion. Delicious. See the edges of the pan going brown? Yeah, and you want the bottom of the pan to get like that. So right now I'm going to add our pepper. This is just one pepper. That needs a little cooking. Listen to those mushrooms talking. Going to give it a little splash. So they still have a ways to go, but I want to get some flavor into them. So I'm going to start adding our spice. So first I'm going to do a little salt, pepper, and then I want to do garlic. That's garlic powder, by the way. Adobo. If you're not sure what adobo is, look it up online, because it's just a combination of spices, but you can tell by the color there's turmeric in there, but it's delicious. This is cumin. And this is sazon. And that's also a mixture. It has cumin and oregano. And let's see if we can get them to caramelize down a little. Adding that broth is bringing those spices into those onions now, because as they dry out and they start absorbing my broth, it's going to be with all those spices. Look at the color of that. That's so cool. That's because of that turmeric that's in the adobo. Okay, I'm going to turn this way down now. Maybe a little more liquid. Okay, now we're going to put our beans in. Now look at that color. If you didn't want to put red peppers, you can put corn. I really love, these are the manzanita olives. They're in a lot of Puerto Rican cooking, so I grew up on these. And I just think it's so delicious to put olives in there. And now I'm just gonna add our Beyond Meat sausage. Let's just stir that around. Wow, what colors. It's like you're infusing all those flavors into the recipe. So let's just get that. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm going to turn this off and give it a little stir around. That's what we're looking for. We want it moist enough, but not gravy. Okay, let's get the plantains out. Look at that, and that's with no oil. I love my air fryer. Whew, they're gonna be hot. Now we're ready to stuff our plantains. So basically you're gonna take your knife, you start about 1 inch, and you come in and don't go all the way to the bottom. And you cut like this. And I'm gonna do it with forks. And you open it. You see how you do that? So that's one. Okay, so now we have our plantain canoes, or our boats, and we want to spoon in some filling. Stuff it in there in the corners. Let it fall over the sides. This recipe makes more than you need for 3 plantains. So there you have it. So now for the taste test. I can't wait to get a bite of that plantain and the filling. I love plantains so much. So to me, this is an incredible recipe because it's so sweet from the plantain and so salty and spicy and flavorful. And look how soft that plantain is. Look, maybe I'll cut the end so you can see. Do you see how soft that is? And look at how nice and soft, and you can see all the caramelization and sugar inside that plantain. And then you just take a piece of that with the filling and a piece of cilantro. That's unbelievable. So you guys, thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And if you have, thank you very much. And if you like this recipe, be sure to check out all my others. Wow, this is so good. This is crazy.